Every day, Dan Butler Morgan needs 4 hours more sleep than the average man. Margaret Bidmead can't stay awake for more than 3 hours. She can go any time, any place. Brenda Rhodes has fallen asleep in her dinner every single day of her married life. Schoolgirl Jacqueline Little collapses over 50 times a day. All these people have a rare sleeping disorder. There is no cure. Long Melford, Suffolk, is home to Dan and Claire Butler Morgan. They're staying with Claire's parents while they renovate their new house.
I always had a soft spot for Dan. All the girls did, I think, and I used to like him, but he never noticed me, so...
She had goofy teeth when she was young. And I never really fancied her first.
But childhood friendship blossomed into love for Dan and Claire, and they married in July 2000.
It's destiny to find each other, and when you found each other, you know it, you just know when you found each other. It's like your soulmate. You sort of fit together perfectly, which I think we do.
Dan has been excessively sleepy all his life. As a teenager, he used to sleep whole weekends. He tried everything to keep himself awake. Nothing worked.
When we used to go on dates together, it was a bit strange to start with. When he was sat for any more than 3 to 5 minutes, he would just be asleep.
Dan, sweetie.
What?
I'm just going to go and do some shopping. Do you mind? Are you happy to sit here? Okay. All right, won't be a minute.
Dan left school at 16 and got a job as a mechanic. When he kept falling asleep at work, he referred himself to a sleep clinic. He was diagnosed with narcolepsy. For Claire, having a narcoleptic husband means she spends a lot of time on her own.
I mean, it does get really difficult. Like when you've planned something, when you plan to go out for an evening, I think that's the hardest. If we're going, even if we're just going out for a meal to the local pub or whatever, and you have your meal and then you have a glass of wine and you usually have a chat and that, but then because Dan gets so tired, it's just like, you know that the conversation's not going anywhere and you have to come home. I can't imagine what it must feel like to be tired for the rest of your life, to not ever feel like there's going to be an end to it. To have the feeling that you're never going to feel wide awake.
I'm not physically able to do some things that my mates can do, and I wish sometimes that I could just give it to them just for that split second and say, right, you stay awake. You try and stay awake. There is no way that I can stop myself. I'm not in control. I'm constantly battling with myself to stay awake, and then I'll get even more frustrated because I'm bringing everybody else down with me.
Yeah,
I'll start an argument.
Start something, you know, and it's just something really silly, but he gets frustrated and wound up, and
I just get picky. I get really picky, and
yeah, very.
if the slight things out of place or slight things happen, I'll jump down Claire's throat, and it's.
But it is purely because he's tired, and like people get irritable and.
I feel very, very self-conscious, incredibly self-conscious. I think people are looking and watching, laughing. I feel they see through me and they can see what I've got, you know, because I'm sleeping. I feel that I upset Claire because I know I get in foul moods when I'm shopping. I get angry with myself because I keep on falling asleep, and I take it out on Claire, which I know I shouldn't do, but I do. Yeah.
Right, where else do you want to go?
Home.
Righto, mate, let's have it in.
Dan has been working for Chris Skeet on and off for the last 5 years.
Rain and that'll get wet.
Yeah.
Put the windows up. I'd got a man off because he'd hurt his back. So he turned up one morning and I thought, oh my God, he'll do. About a week, I suppose, after he'd been here, that he told me he'd got the illness. Keeping them awake is the hardest job. He'll probably nod off doing this MOT.
I just want to succeed. I want to be more than what I am at the moment, not somebody having banter slammed at you all the time, because I see myself as a nothing, as a nobody, a grease monkey.
One dinner time, he was out in the sun. I couldn't wake him up. Half hour over his dinner break.
All I wanted to do was to be in the police force, and all I got in response was a letter basically saying that I was a health and safety risk.
Turn her off.
That really, really put me down, really put me down.
You've moved about the quickest I've seen you move this morning, and that's unusual.
I think if Dan didn't have narcolepsy or cataplexy, I think he would definitely be in the police force. He's very good with people. He's very tolerant and patient person, and very good at sorting things out.
Oh, they're a bit dirty, isn't it?
That's a very soft spot for Dan. That's the one thing that really gets to him.
I suppose in a way I don't want to try and pursue anything else because I'm frightened that I'll get put down.
Start her up again, please. Oh, come on.
I've gone for several jobs and I've been turned away as soon as they know that I've got narcolepsy.
I hope you ain't going to take a lot longer on this, Dan. I got in the old breakdown truck out there and I got to the end of the road and he's been asleep. As soon as I pulled up, put the handbrake on, Dan. Right, where are we? Right, OK, let's get this motor on.
Dan isn't sleeping on the job, but to get through an 8-hour day, it's essential that he sleeps through his lunch hour.
People see narcolepsy as a disability. I am not disabled. I sleep. I'm not lazy. I'm not. It's an illness. As long as I take my medication, my working day is my working day.
You don't fall asleep there. Oh, well, when you've had a few beers.
When he falls asleep, he hasn't got narcolepsy.
So it doesn't bother you?
Doesn't bother me in the slightest. Even when you go to sleep in the sun.
Sometimes I just feel that it does, it does get in the way of...
No. When I get in the way, I'll tell you. You don't want to worry about that. No problem at all. You can always wake people up anyway, can't you?
I just don't like to be perceived as like lazy by anybody or... No?
No.
You don't see it that way?
No. That's the truth. If I had a problem with it, I'd tell him straight out. No. Wendy, you making the tea? Got the MOT's done. Come on, let's have some tea.
On top of a full day in the garage, Dan works most evenings on his and Claire's new home.
Dan? Hiya, you all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how you getting on?
Right.
Here's what you're up to.
Just finished getting this floor level.
Uh-huh.
Because tile's got to be laid, so I've got to get it perfectly level. How's your day been anyway?
Yeah, not too bad. Went to the doctor's. I was just about this tiredness getting me down, so...
Tiredness? You're tired?
I know.
Spare a thought, please.
I know, I think I'm the one who suffers more. It's you keeping me awake.
Claire doesn't always get a good night's sleep. At night, Dan is plagued by further symptoms of narcolepsy. Sleep paralysis and hallucinations make going to bed a nightmare.
Dan doesn't always know when he's had a good night's sleep. He thinks he's had a good night's sleep, and he's often had up to 10 sessions of sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis is a type of gradual cataplexy that comes over Dan as he's trying to fall asleep. And as he lies there, awake and paralysed, vivid hallucinations start to unfold.
If I look over at the window or look to either side, I'll see like hands, big hand, coming towards you. Another one is silhouettes or like black figures, like looks like a person standing at, you know, wherever you look, there'll be somebody there. I cannot do anything about it whatsoever, and it is so scary. Even though I'm next to Claire, I'm in my own bedroom, I'm in my own bed, underneath my own bedclothes. I am in a totally different world.
All I really do is just touch Dan like that, or just have to touch him on the shoulder, and it completely brings him out of it. So it's just such a small thing that brings him out, but if I didn't do it, he would just carry on, and it just wouldn't stop.
And I'll lay there and I think, right, this is stupid, it's in my head, it's not happening, it's not real, it's just something that's, you know, just all inside my head. Nothing's going to harm me, nothing's going to happen, and I'll go back into it and I'll just panic again.
Many narcoleptics experience these terrifying hallucinations. As with all symptoms of narcolepsy, there's no known cure. It's something that Dan and Claire will have to live with. There are few people that have cataplexy as bad as Jacqueline, Dan included. But over the years, learning how to control it and keeping control of it has led to fundamental changes in his personality.
What do I like? I think Foster's, please. I think actually still recovering.
The Dan before I was diagnosed was happy-go-lucky, pull all the gags, play all the tricks.
I should jump back on this.
I was Mr. Funny, you know, everybody looked at me to pull a joke out and everybody sort of, I could make people laugh. But the Dan after being diagnosed with narcolepsy takes a back seat.
He couldn't actually stand up and he fell over with the bike on top of him.
You still do tell jokes, but it's you kind of know when he gets to the punchline. Sometimes if he's got it, if he can feel.
I can't tell jokes properly. I can't even tell a joke. I mean that.
If it's really funny and you know he's gonna, when he gets to the punchline, he'll just.
I just
it'll affect
freeze.
him. He won't be able to.
It's not
get
like
it out.
boom, boom, and then everybody laughs. It's like I can't get it out.
I'm not sorry, because if you are sorry, you stop. But you don't stop every day.
Not being able to let go has completely changed my personality. For the worst, I'd say. It's not me.
You can sleep forever, still you will be tired.
Dan and Claire are going to celebrate his 26th birthday at a club in Ipswich.
You won't find peace with you.
If Dan was on his own and not married or have a partner like myself, I think he would find it incredibly difficult to perhaps motivate himself to do things. At the end of the day, he would probably just opt for coming home and going to sleep, whereas I think if you've got that somebody who's, oh, come on, let's go out and do this, and it's making him do things, I think perhaps he would have become a bit of a loner.
past, his cataplexy has been mistaken for drunkenness, and Dan's been thrown out of clubs.
I do have to be very conscious about what I'm doing and just shutting out everything around you. But it's all inside me and no one can actually see that.
I think Dan does get worried. I think he thinks, well, why does she want to stay with me when I've got all these problems? To me, it's not a huge problem. Dan's, I love Dan, and this is just something that comes with him, so it's part of the relationship now.
Narcolepsy even intrudes during their most intimate moments. Sometimes after sex, a cataplectic attack stops Dan breathing.
There has been times where afterwards I've been laid on the bed I must have been going blue because I couldn't breathe. You'd come downstairs or something and I was laid there and I couldn't breathe, I couldn't do anything.
I have been in situations with you where you have felt like that.
But it's just after. It's like when you're having a fag. I just stopped breathing. It's that good.
Oh dear.